I'm going to preface this entire story with I warned my girlfriend of 4 years that I'm a magnet when it comes to creepy and paranormal. I'm just going to say that. I'm not going to tell you anything else that happens until the end. That's all I'm going to say. So the way I'm going to tell this whole story is from both of our perspectives. She experienced and noticed a bunch of different things than I noticed. So I'm going to tell you her story, and then I'm going to input my story afterwards. Because I didn't really notice anything until day 2, day 3, or night 2, night 3, whatever. And she noticed things throughout the entire time we were there. But besides the point, I will link the imgur album in the description. So if you want to look at the pictures more in depth, feel free. So the story I'm going to tell happened around this time last year. And I wanted to make a video on it then, but I didn't because I'm fucking lazy. Anyway, this is the story of the first and the only time we will ever take a vacation to Blue Ridge, Georgia. So some backstory. We rented a car, drove all the way to Blue Ridge, Georgia, rented an Airbnb, and we were excited. Vacation, nice house, nice cabin, 3-story, fucking beautiful. Beautiful scenes. We had no neighbors, whatever. We're really looking forward to it. So we roll up to the house, and the first thing we noticed was that the driveway is like this. I'm not talking, this isn't an exaggeration. That bitch was it was a 60-degree angle. The bitch was slanted. It was down there. So, and when you park, there's no flat. It's just slanted, and then it's just a little less slanted. So we parked like this. But that's beside the fact. House is beautiful. Nice wood. There's a little bit of concrete in there probably. They had a wraparound porch that wrapped around the whole house because of the whole first story. And then there's a master bedroom on the bottom floor. And there's like 3 bedrooms on the second floor. The house was beautiful. Scenery was beautiful. Right smack dab in the middle of the woods, right off of almost a side road. It was off of Asker Road. I'm not going to give the address or anything because I don't want to out them in their business. Day 1, we had drove probably like 10 hours. We got up really early. We're like, we're just going to chill for today. And the path walking up to the gate to get onto the walk-in porch is like gravel, surrounded by bigger stones, probably like a hand. I could hold one in my hand, but there was a bunch of them, and that was the scenery going up. You get onto the wraparound porch. Right in front of you is the door to get into the first floor. To the left is another gate that goes to the yard, which wasn't that great of a yard, but we had dogs with us. That's where we would take them out, and we did get out, let them out over there. You walk through the yard, following the house. It puts you on the bottom floor, and then there's a back door that goes into the master bedroom. Now, before I get into nighttime, I just want to hammer the fact home on how alone we actually are out here. When we rolled up, the first thing we did was look at the neighbors. And the only neighbor we had that we could see that was home was all the way across the valley. Now, when you walked out of the back door of the house, it went straight down a hill because we were in the mountains. Across the mountain, you could see lights, but I don't know exactly how far away they were. You could see a house. It was really small. But the neighbors to our right and to our left, neither were home. Neither were rented out, nothing. There was nobody here. After 8 o'clock, not a single car would drive past the house. Not a single light would shine anywhere aside from us. No neighbor lights, no neighbor cars coming through, no random car driving down the street, not even a street light. So I just want to hammer the fact home of how almost stranded we are out here. So we go into the house, we're just going to hang out, chill for the day, and just kind of let the dogs acclimate. It's a new place. We're just going to hang out. So that's what we did. So during the day, neither one of the dogs could really relax either. They were both kind of like always on edge. And I just attribute that to being a new house. But you know, it's a new area, new place, new smells. Not really that big of a deal. But come that night, since we didn't want to aggravate the dogs or try to, do anything crazy with them, we didn't want us to have them sleeping downstairs, being weird. We're just going to let them sleep on the couch with us. We took them out, came back in, and we just slept on the couch. I don't do well with no white noise because I think I have to, I don't know, I might have tinnitus. I hear humming in my ear, really loud rushing sounds. It's probably tinnitus. That doesn't matter. So with no sound, I had a hard time going to sleep. The entire time, my dog is laying to my left on the couch. The couch is an L couch. Here, I'm here, and Shayla's over here watching the front door. Now, I've seen her get alert before, and this is what it is. She almost points, and she's deaf. She can't hear anything. Her eyesight isn't bad, but it's not good. Her nose is really good. So she's sniffing like crazy. You can see her just, and then she just starts growling. And I'm like, next to the door was a little like German, no, not German Shepherd, a little golden retriever, like statue type deal. And I'm thinking that's what she's growling at. You know, she thinks it's a dog. I'm like, okay, it's whatever. And she keeps going. And I go over there and I'm like, look, it's just a statue, Shayla. And she came with me and then just put her nose on the door and just kept growling a little bit louder. She kept growling a little bit louder at the door. And I'm like, there's nothing out there. You're fine. So I like got the light on real quick and looked around. I was like, it's whatever. And I left the light on. We go back around and we finally fall asleep. So we wake up on day 2 and she wants to make breakfast. She's like, I'm going to go look in the car and I think I've left something in there. So I'm going to go out there. So she goes out and like I said, the pathway is like little bits of gravel with big stones on the side. She notices there are a few, probably 3 or 4 of these big hand-sized stones pushed into the walkway. Her brain goes, oh, Michael must have tripped. No big deal. She puts him back. Or day 2, she knows the rocks moved, and she just assumes the big handheld rocks. She just assumes I tripped and knocked him in and didn't pick him up. So she just kind of ignores that going out to the car. And that's how her brain rationalized it. We brought some stuff inside, made breakfast, and then we went about our day. Which we went into town, went hiking. We didn't get home till like 6 or 7 o'clock. I wanted to mention this early. There's not one situation of the rocks moving. This happened 2, maybe 3 times a day, every day that we saw. She didn't tell me about it at all until the last day. But she said it happened 2 to 3 times a day. And she would just constantly move them back. Because the first day we went, I tripped over a rock, knocked a couple into the walkway. So she just kept attributing it to me tripping over and over. So after we got home, after 7 o'clock or so, and we've been hiking all day and doing stuff with the dogs, like I said, so we wanted to order food. And I was like, you know what, we should just order pizza so we don't have to make dinner or do anything crazy. We can just relax the rest of the day. So that's what we did. First thing we did was look at Uber. Out there, as far as we were, like I said, we were basically alone. There was not a single restaurant on Uber. Not a single restaurant on Postmates. Not even a single restaurant on Grubhub. That didn't even exist over there, I don't think. So I resorted to just calling pizza places. And we were only 4.5, 5 miles from the town. But everybody was like, no, we don't deliver that far. I'm like, oh no. So if we're in trouble, like what happens? An hour away. So I call Pizza Hut. Eventually they're like, yeah, we can deliver there. 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours it took to get our food. I don't know if they were backed up on cooking it or what, but it took them 2.5 hours to drive through the mountains to deliver the food to our house. They did. Kudos to that guy. Come to nighttime, take the dogs out the side yard, make sure the entire upstairs is locked, because there's a spiral staircase that goes from the bottom floor to the top floor. And I'm too damn big. I have to shimmy up it. So I only move around floors if I either desperately need to or I go outside. So we take the dog out the side yard to go to the bathroom. And we come down. We open the gate to get on the bottom floor, which there's a bottom porch. It's not wrapped around. It just goes. It's just the back of the house. It's just a small porch with a fireplace. Now, there's probably about, I would say 10 feet of room. And it's about 10 feet long of porch on the left side of the fireplace. Then you have the fireplace and you're about the same size on the other side. going to the back door to enter the master bedroom. To the right of the fireplace, like almost in front of the door, at the edge of the edge of the porch, is a bunch of welcome mats, like 8 or 10 welcome mats, just like stacked up on top of each other. And I notice this. I don't know why, but I take a mental note. So I'm like, they're probably seasonal, whatever. They're probably seasonal. So we lock the gate up, go inside, make sure the door is locked. What I didn't say is that every door in this house is a glass door. It's mostly glass with no blinds. Every door in this house is a glass door with no blinds. So we go to sleep on the bottom floor, which is the master bedroom. Nice big ass bed. It was awesome. I let the dog on the bed, Shayla, and at the back door, she's doing it again. She's alert. She's pointing at the door. She's really riled up. The hair on the back of her, on her back, standing up, and she's growling aggressively at this back door. Now, I'm laying on the bed right here. The back door's right there. It's like 8 to 10 feet to my right. And I can just see right out of it. If somebody's standing on the back porch, they can just see me sleeping. They can see both of us sleeping. So I'm just like trying to calm her down. I'm like, Shayla, just go to sleep, blah, blah, blah. We left the TV on. And go to sleep. It actually snowed on night 2 as well. It snowed. It wasn't like a super hard snow, but it was enough to like cover everything in a nice like thin sheet of snow. And we walked out the front door that morning, and I didn't notice the rocks, but like I said, they move every day. Lisa just kind of noticed and pointed out to me that we saw like really probably like footprints that were like this big. You know, not big enough for me, not big enough for her. They were a little bit smaller than that. Just like on the hillside and coming down into the rocks. We just attribute it to like a bear cub or like a deer or something like that just came running past the house. And we just kind of just glossed past it because neither one of us wanted to believe there was something out there that was like looking at us or some crazy shit, because that was just too much for us. And when we wake up the third day, Lisa felt terrible, so we're just like, you know what, we're just going to stay home. So I noticed something when we first pulled in. What I noticed was this. See that? That's a little shack in the woods. It's not much bigger than like a hand-built doghouse. But from this picture, this is me standing, see, zoomed in from the balcony. This is standing on the wraparound porch on the first floor. That's what it looks like, right? I noticed this probably the first day. And I was just thinking it was like a dog. You could see a little bit of a fence there. I'm like, oh, maybe they have a dog that just lives out there, right? Naturally, before I show more pictures of it, I wanted to go explore. So Lisa's feeling bad. I'm like, you know what? I really want to go see this shack and go see what it's all about. So I walk over there. I don't take my phone because it's not a far walk. It was nowhere near a far walk. So this picture right here, this is from the driveway. You can see, if I could get it in full screen, you can see that there's no path to it. This is a path that's coming from the house, and it just stops right here. And then there's nothing getting up to this, right? Not a single thing gets to that. And I'm like, let's go explore. I just want to go explore. So I go explore it, come back. Lisa's like, why the fuck didn't you take your phone? So I take my phone. These are the pictures I took, right? This is me standing in the woods. You can see clearly there's no path to get there. No way for me to get over here except to basically hike over here. Pictures of the fence, the wire fence. Now this wire fence, you can see it surrounds the entire shack. You can see the buckets right here on the left side. That's a close-up picture. You can see they haven't been disturbed. They haven't even moved for most of the time they've been out here. That's a thick layer of algae on top. You can see the green line. They don't shift, nothing. I don't know why they're out there. That's a close. I felt the feeling I had around this enclosure was freaky. Like, I don't really feel fear or anything like that. I don't feel much, but I feel really bad dread and a really bad knot in my stomach being near this enclosure. This is me zooming in because I didn't want to go in there because I didn't want something to be like sleeping in the corner of the shack and me open the door and it come rushing at me. Right? So I was really freaked out. These pictures will come back to play in a little bit. So I come back, I show her the pictures. She's like, "Oh, that's really fucking weird." I'm like, "I know. It's freaky." So we fast forward through the rest of the day, and we're sleeping downstairs again. As we're coming around the house to go back through the side yard that I've explained a few times, I noticed something, and I don't say anything. Right now, I didn't tell her that I felt this dread. She hasn't told me that she's seen these rocks moving. We don't tell each other anything because we're both trying to just enjoy vacation and not think about something else going on. We go through the side yard, we go downstairs, we go through the gate. I let her go first because she's got the little dog. He's freezing because it's December in Georgia and it's cold. So she turns right, she goes to the front door. I noticed something. I opened the gate. I noticed that the welcome mats that were on the right side of the fireplace, that neither one of us ever touched, had moved all the way to the left side of the gate and had stacked up next to the gate. They weren't really stacked, they were kind of just slightly like askew. They're like this. All of them just feathered out next to the gate door, which is an easy 15 feet from where they were before. And I look at that, first thing I think of is, I'm just gonna, I'm good, you know? Nothing, it's a little weird, but whatever. So we go to bed. I think we ended up watching a movie or something. And I fall asleep first. I'm actually exhausted because I haven't slept well the past 2 nights. So this night I actually pass out. Apparently my dog does too because she didn't growl or anything today. That night, Lisa did not tell me until halfway through the next morning, she saw something walk past the windows. Right? Now there's blinds on the windows, but they're kind of like cracked open essentially, so she can see through them. And then the door has nothing on it. She sees something walk past the window. She sees it walk past the second window. And the windows, I'm 6'4", windows are start about my belly button or my waist, and they go a little above my head. So they're kind of tall, you know. She sees something walk past the window, hits the cut, walk past the second window. So she says she looks at the door, and nothing walks past the door. It just disappeared. So she tries to rationalize it by maybe it's a bear. Maybe it's a wolf. It could be an animal of some sort. Bears are big enough that you'd be able to see them through the window. So that's what she thinks. She's like, okay, that's what it is. Be an animal, whatever. Goes to sleep. Wake up the next morning. She goes upstairs to make breakfast. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna pack. This is the day we're leaving. We have to be out of the house by 1 so they can clean it, whatever. So I'm like, you go upstairs and make breakfast. I'm going to pack everything down here and get it all upstairs. Because I'm not climbing the spiral staircase. Too damn small. But I can almost reach up to the top of it. So I'm throwing stuff up there. Like our blankets, our pillows, dog stuff. I'm standing at the bottom of these steps. And I'm throwing stuff up. Turn around, grab our suitcase a little bit. Grab the pillows, the blankets, throw them up. And as I turn the 3rd or 4th time, I'm like, okay. Room is basically empty. I just got to grab my big blanket and I can go upstairs. Let me make sure the door's locked. So I go up to the back door, and as I get up to the back door to push and make sure the knob's locked, I look up and I see something running away from the house. Now, I'm going to explain to you what I saw and why it freaked me out. Had it been a fox, had it been running on 4 legs at the speed it was going, and it wasn't like you could see it doing this. It was gliding. It was running so fast that it basically didn't move. It just went woo right into the woods. And you can see from the pictures that it's a slant and it goes down into a valley. And it went shoo, and I looked and I could see it for probably 2 or 3 seconds. And it was going ridiculously fast. And I went, and I locked the door and I ran upstairs and I go, I don't want to make you panic, Lisa. I don't. But I saw something running away from the house. She goes, do you think you were just seeing it? Could have been an animal? I go, I wouldn't be panicking if it had 4 legs. If I saw 4 legs running at that speed, I would believe it was an animal. But nothing human moves that fast on 2 legs. And I was freaking out. I go, and she goes, well, you know what? And this is when we broke down what we saw to each other, which I explained throughout the video. She explained to me the rock. She explained she saw something move past the window. And now I'm doing that nervous chuckle. I'm like, ha. I'm like doing the nervous chuckle, and she's kind of getting a little worried too. I'm like, oh, dude, why did it start happening more when I went and I explored the shack? So I go out on the back porch to the back of the wraparound where I can see it. And I'm going to pull up the pictures again so you can see what I'm looking at. Like I said, this picture right here, this is me standing on the porch looking at it. You can kind of see right around here. Now these were taken the day before. So you can see the shack pretty decently. Can't really make out a whole lot. You can see the broken fence. You can't see the buckets. Now, I noticed something. I notice that I can see one of the buckets now, probably right around here. I can see a plastic bucket right here, and I can see the metal one is like, I can see it sticking out behind the building back here. Now, this is where it starts to get really weird. As I showed the buckets before, they haven't moved. There's like a nice layer of algae. It doesn't rock. These haven't been moved, and there's a metal one and a plastic one. Like I said, I can see the plastic one. From here is a little bit better picture. The plastic one is about right here. Metal one's over here, like barely sticking out from behind the building that I can see from a distance. And I noticed something in here. It looks like there's some stuff back there, like a makeshift bed, but I didn't really look into that too much. So I'm like pacing. I'm now freaking out, and I'm pacing. I'm like, oh God. Okay. So what the hell is it? Is it a hobo? Is it a baby Sam Squanch? I'm like, dude, okay, you know what? Not a big deal. Not worried about it. So I stop moving and I start catching. I'm like, okay. And I hear this. I hear tink 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 tink, and I'm like, what is that? So I start walking around the house looking for like a flag, because you know that's what sometimes it sounds like when a thing's one of those little strings is hitting a flag, when a flag's flapping in the wind. It's not windy, first off, and I'm like, there's no flag outside this house. And I noticed the sound stopped when I started moving. So I walk back to that side of the porch and I stand still again, completely still. Tink, 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 tink. I'm like, I start shaking. Like I even started shaking a little bit thinking about it. It's banging on the bucket. Whatever is in the shack, whatever lives in the shack, is behind it just slapping the bucket with a stick. I'm like, no, nope. I go inside. Lisa was cleaning up breakfast. I go inside. I go, we're leaving. This is it. I go, babe, it's outside. It's banging on a bucket. It is outside just fucking having, it's acted like a fucking band, like it's Rush playing the drums behind the shack. I go, oh, that's it. I'm done. It's a wrap. I go, no more. We're packing up. We're leaving. We're leaving early. It's like 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, we're done. That's it. So I start packing stuff up and I start putting stuff out in the car. She's got to hold the dogs because she doesn't want the dogs to take off onto the porch and like get out. So it's just me on our slanted ass driveway, walking stuff to and from the house. And on like my third trip, I go out and I have to organize everything in the car so I have a nice space for the dogs to be able to lay down. Situating the suitcases and some of the food stuff we brought. And I turn and I look at the shack and I see it. I see whatever it is standing to the left of the shack. Right? So as I said, this is from the driveway. I see it standing right here. And from here, the shack's probably 4 or 5 feet tall. It's shorter than the shack. It's hunched over a little bit, and it looks like it has hair back here, like back here. And it can be no more than 4 feet tall. and I thought it was barefoot. It was holding something, and it's just standing there, looking to the left, like looking this way into the woods. And no shit, I was like, oh my God, I gotta take a picture. I put my hand in my pocket, and I don't know if the rustling of like the keys or my hand or something, it heard me, but this fucking thing looked at me right here. I saw it. It went and looked right at me, and then motherfucker glided. I told you this thing is fenced in. That fucker glided through the fence at the same run and the same speed it ran away from the house. It went swoop right down in the valley and disappeared. And I inhaled, and I felt like I was inhaling glass because I was fucking terrified of whatever the hell it was. That fucker looked at me and ran through a fence and disappeared. And I went, I ran inside, grabbed the rest of my shit in the midst of all this. Sadly, I left my fucking Switch controllers there. I had to go buy more. I ran back into the house. I go, Lisa, I saw it. Lisa, I saw it. I tried to take a picture of it and I couldn't because it heard me, saw me, something. It looked right at me and ran. She goes, you're bullshitting. I go, I don't get scared. I've done some dumb shit and none of it scared me. This freaked me out. I said, oh my God, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. We're done. We're done. We load the cars in. I grab the rest of the shit. We lock the door, leave the keys, left. As we're driving, I'm like, I have no idea what that was. I go, I've never seen anything like it. I've dealt with ghosts. And now, when I said that I was a magnet for paranormal, people were like, paranormal stuff only happens to those who believe it. I didn't believe it when I was a kid. It just happened to me. And it happened time and time again that I had no choice not to believe in it. And I've seen stuff. I've been through some really stupid paranormal stuff. I've dealt with demons in my head, and I've never seen whatever this was before. First thing I did was I'm going on the paranormal subreddit, and I'm going to post my whole story, which is why I made this imgur. These were all the pictures I took of the shack. Put these in the imgur, put it on Reddit, and you can see it's December 13th. This was last year. I put these on Reddit, and I'm reading through some of the replies. People are like, it's probably just a hobo. Bro, you're making this story up. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not. What? Granted, that's Reddit being skeptical. That's fine. I'm like, dude, I'm freaking out. Some guy goes, you're in Blue Ridge. It could be a baby Sasquatch. I'm like, dude, that's not a Sam Squanch. That thing was not big enough. And then some random guy, which I gilded him, because he introduced me to what this thing was. He said, I don't know if this story is true or not, because you described a Pukwudgie almost perfectly. And I look at Lisa and I go, what in the fuck is a Pukwudgie? Let me show you what a Pukwudgie is. This was one of the best things I could find was this. They explain what a Pukwudgie is. And I'm going to explain to you what a Pukwudgie is. They're magical creatures who live inside wooded areas and swamps. They're considered spirits of the forest. Pukwudgies can disappear and appear and disappear at will. Confuse humans, create fire. I don't know why. I mean, I can create fire too. I got a lighter, bro. Launch poison arrows, use magic, and lure people to their deaths. Thank God I didn't listen to anybody on Reddit who told me to go, why didn't you just chase it? Whoa. They have the ability to shapeshift into dangerous animals like cougars. Maybe that's what Lisa saw. Was one of the animals that it shapeshifted to walk around the house. They can turn themselves into a combination of creatures and look half human, half porcupine. If you spot a Pukwudgie, you should leave it alone. Anyone who annoys one will be followed around by the creature and will either fall victim to its nasty tricks, like being stalked or having their memory forgotten, or meet a much deadlier ending. If you annoy a Pukwudgie, they might kidnap your children, push you off a cliff, attack you with short knives and spears you stand to blind you, or persuade you to commit suicide. Now, this one's interesting. Because the reason persuade you to commit suicide is interesting is because during day 3 when I said I was exploring, I wanted to go upstairs. And I made the journey up the spiral staircase that I could barely fit on to go see what was up there. And it was a nice place for, like, if you had kids up there, it'd be sweet. It's like a little loft. It's like there's a fucking balcony of a loft right above the living room. So I could see down into the living room right where we were sleeping. And I'm standing up there. And I'm like, Lisa, get Shay to look at me. Get her to look at me. I want her to see that I'm up here way above her. And she sees me and she goes, whoa. And for some reason, my brain goes, fucking jump. Jump head first into the ground. Now, mind you, this was after I went and looked at the shack. I was just hanging out at home. And my brain goes, jump, bro. Kill yourself. I bet you it won't hurt that bad. And I'm like, why am I thinking that? Right? Let's keep reading Pukwudgie facts. Pukwudgies resemble humans. They're much smaller, have canine-like nose, larger ears, lips, and fingers. They have been compared to trolls, goblins, and leprechauns. Right? They have been sighted near Fall River, which is close to the home of Lizzie Borden. They really found areas of other forms of paranormal activity. This is interesting too, because if you don't know what Blue Ridge, Georgia is, we looked up a little bit of stuff about it. There's been like whole church murders. There's been a whole bunch of paranormal shit in Blue Ridge, Georgia. And we're like in a triangle of paranormal shit right where we were staying. So we'll continue. The exact height of Pukwudgies are unknown. Some say 2 to 3, others believe they're knee height. I think mine was between 3 and 4 feet tall. Could have been shorter, could have been a little bit taller. I have no fucking idea. Native Americans believe Pukwudgies used to get along with humans, but turned against them. Legend says the reason Pukwudgies hate humans because of, I'm going to butcher the fuck out of it, so be ready. Wampanoag tribe. Right? Marshall the Giant, it's a story about him. Apparently he tried to kill him, and they tried to kill him back. Right? So I know what I saw, and I know what I experienced. But if you're a skeptic, please tell me what you think it was. Because I would love to believe that it wasn't a Pukwudgie. But everything in my gut tells me that that's what it was. And next time, when I want to take a vacation, I'm just going to go to fucking Vegas. Thanks for watching.